FNA meeting together. City Clerk, go ahead if you want to go ahead and take roll.
Are you both here?
We're all here.
Well done.
Please note, Councilman Washington's absence. Unless there are objections, I consider it is excused.
No objection.
No objections. Councilman Washington is. And Councilman May, his laptop still hates him. Let's go on.
And you evidently.
All right. Are there any adjustments or comments in regards to the agenda as presented? I have none. All right, we will consider the agenda as presented as approved and move on. Moving on to public comments. Are there those either online or in attendance here today wishing to make comment before the committee in regards to matters not currently on the agenda? Please either raise your hand online or raise your hand in here in the committee room. And I see no hands in here, and unless others advise, I see no hands online. All right, with that, we will close public comments and move on with the rest of the agenda. All right, item number 1 is approval of minutes dated September 6th, 2023. Chair has no revisions or comments. Any member has no revisions or comments. We will, unless there are objections, we will consider the minutes as presented as approved. Here are no objections, they are approved. Let's move to approval of warrants and claims. Consideration and claims approval report dated September 25, 2023. I received, I'm a little behind in email, but I'm unaware of email comments, questions in regards to these. I have no questions. Do you have any questions in regards to these? Jen, did you have comment? I saw you moving back there.
Right,
Yes, ma'am.
share with the committee. I just wanted to share with the committee that we are working on those changes for sharing the report to the public. And so next claims report will be in a different format. And so what we have done, and I'm going to share my screen, maybe not. So what we'll be providing is a summary, the two-page cover report to the claims list, and it will contain a link in that. And then on the city's website, on our financial reports page, it will be linked to our landing page for financial reports, and you see we've already set it up so that the claims report is going to be, now this is the September 25th report dated here. The whole report is in the packet for this time, what you're seeing here, but then anyone who's interested in the information can select that, and they can see the claims report. And so that's where council committee can go to review that information directly from your packet, following that link on that two-page cover report.
But that's also publicly available.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. It's publicly available on the website for anyone on the financial reports landing page.
Yeah. Is the intention to have the last report available there, or are we gonna keep a running list?
We are not going to, because that's a lot of information on the city's website. We archive all of the claims report according to retention schedules. So the report that is under council and committee review will be there for the public. But if someone wants archived information, we can provide that to them through either a public records request or when we're into our Laserfiche implementation project, that will have a public facing portal. So historical claims reports can be found there too, for anyone in the public to search on.
Yeah, of course.
When will that, give or take, when will that come on? Is that 5 years away, or is that 6 months away, or roughly?
We'll Laserfiche, and I can have Dina provide us. We just had our first planning session with the consultant who is going to, Dina received a grant for the project, city clerk. And so we're starting that. And so, Dina, would you mind giving an update on kind of a timeline for that? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. So I did receive a grant through the state, the records, local records grant program. And it covers the first year, it's a cloud-based license as well as implementation for that. And we had our kickoff meeting last Friday with CDI, Cities Digital, which is a vendor that sells it and will help us get it implemented. So we talked about how we want the public facing portal to be one of the first things that we do, as well as migrating all of our long-term records from the network drives into the cloud-based platform, which has really great search functionality and helps us retain our records for their life cycle. So part of that public facing portal is going to have the claims approval reports for all of them. And so this, I feel like, no offense to Jen or anything, because this is a great thing, but it's sort of temporary until we can get the public facing portal up and running. And then that link will be right into the repository. And that's where also all of our legislative records will be. So minutes, agendas, resolutions, ordinances, all of that will be there as opposed to the document center on the website. So it's going to be a big change, but it will really help us manage our records and also kind of according to the retention schedule. So if there are records that we can dispose of properly, legally, and we should be doing, then that will help us do that as well.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, so so that sounds great. The reason I asked that question is I believe that other cities generally have more than one, there's some period of time, I don't know how long. But it seems to me reasonable that if we're going to have a solution here, in the not too distant future, that going with one for now, that seems reasonable for now. Yeah, well, it's a huge step in the right direction, right?
So in the statement of work too, I didn't mention this. It's like a month that they anticipate that this will be done by like end of October.
She meant definitely by next October. Set the bar. Set the bar.
So I'm really hopeful that
Exceed expectations.
I'm really hopeful that we can get that going quickly.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah. As you do that, just one thing to keep in mind, let me just think how I want to say this, that's been of concern to me is if you go back about 2 or 3 years, all our council packets that went out, all the committee packets that went out had the packet, the PDF packet attached to the email. So somewhere around 2 or 3 years ago, we went to links. And I think it was just sort of try to cut down on the amount of sort of administrative burden, just trying to make it simpler. The thing is, when you go back about a year, anything over about a year, give or take, I haven't tried to figure out exactly, you start to find a lot of those links just don't work anymore. And so one thing you might think of as you're going through this process is how can we kind of have something that persists for years, right? So that, because we know we're going to move it from here into that location, therefore the link might change. So how the heck do you solve that? Maybe these consultants, I'm sure this won't be the first time they've been presented with that sort of a question, but it might be worth sort of thinking through so that things kind of, hopefully maybe links don't break, right? And it's still easy for people to sort of zoom in. There's still other ways you can track stuff down. It just gets a little harder once the links are broken. Does that make sense?
Right. So are you saying that it's your preference to have a whole packet attached to an email? Is that?
Well, no,
because
I'm
I think
not
it
saying
was
that.
the size of the packet.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, if I go search old, say 3-year-old agenda packets, I can just go to a date for a meeting and the agenda pack's just attached. So
Those
boom,
links.
you found it. Now, more recently, you go and you find a link, that's fine. Problem is when you hit the link, it just goes nowhere. So you're like, oh geez, how do I find that packet, right? So there are ways to do it. It just takes a few extra steps. It's not gone. It's just a little harder to track down. So I was just thinking, as you go through this, maybe they have some ideas about how we like do those links that somehow make them persist once we kind of move things to the, I don't know if there is or not, but it's something you might kick around with them, see if they've got an idea.
But moving forward, not repairing broken
No,
links.
yeah.
We'll have to repair those broken links. That is something that Carson and I are working
Oh,
on
that you already knew.
with
Okay.
the old AP builder and
I
trying to
gotcha.
extract all that
Yeah.
information. Yeah, that is a project that is difficult.
Yeah,
and
it's so time consuming.
We're
Right?
trying to
Intensive.
problem solve that
Yeah.
because those are long-term records. We need to
Right.
get those. So, yeah, that is something, but moving forward, all the current packets will be in the repository as well. So yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue moving forward, but definitely in the past that's why having links in them is maybe not such a great idea. But just because of historically what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're working on the specifics of how
Okay,
that
sounds
will-
like you all over it. So just want to make sure you're aware.
Yeah.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
then with regard to the claims reports, this is just fantastic step forward. Okay, could you just put back up the claims report? It was up on the screen for a minute and I wanted to see you scroll down just a little more. Cause it was just, there was a timing thing that was jumping into my mind. Just scroll just a tad lower. Or is that the end?
This was page 2 of the cover sheet.
Okay, so that's the full page 2. There's nothing more on page 2.
That's correct.
Okay, beautiful. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
All right. Unless there are other questions or comments, we'll consider the claims report as presented approved. All right, claims report is approved. Let's move on into agenda bills. Move agenda bill 23-104, council priority tracker.
All right, good evening, Mayor, committee members. A few weeks ago, we presented the council priority tracker at an FNA committee meeting, and the committee had a discussion on some changes they'd like to see to the document. So over the past few weeks, we've been working on implementing those changes. And tonight we've brought this back to have a conversation about what those changes were, and then possibly a discussion on some next steps for this document. So before we get into some discussion, I just wanted to run through some of those changes that we made real quickly here. So again, there's a lot of information up on the screen, so I'm just going to try to zoom in here so that you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit better. So first of all, I want to bring your attention to this first column. We've changed project to topic based on Councilmember Mayhew's idea there. Obviously, some of these items are a bit more abstract than a project, so topic might be a bit better of a word to use there. We've also divided all of these topics up by council committee so that if a certain committee wants to take a deeper dive into some of these items, they'll be divided up conveniently for them to do so. We've also added a council committee column there as well, so it's not just labeled at the top, so each item is labeled there as well. We've updated a lot of these topic names to be more descriptive. So I think the the example that we used last time, this second project on the list here, I think we just had, I just put Northwest Railway Museum Project or something along those lines. So we've updated it to now say it's the Roundhouse Project so that everybody knows what project we're talking about here. We've also labeled the council priorities there at the top. So your 6 priorities. If somebody was looking at this document for the first time and wasn't necessarily familiar with those, now it should be pretty clear. We have a links column over towards the right, and I think one of the suggestions was to eliminate some of the links that weren't necessarily very helpful. So we've a lot of these projects are at different stages. So some may be at very beginning stages when there's not too much information available, while others there's a ton of links available. So if we have something that's relevant, more information that we can link to in this document, we've provided that in this section. We've also since a few weeks or about a month now has passed, we've shifted the timelines around on a few projects just to keep things updated so that it's up to date for this meeting. And then last but not least here, we've updated this notes column, made sure that everything's formatted in a consistently, because a lot of different departments have worked on this document, so everything should kind of flow consistently throughout the document. And then if there was information lacking anywhere, I've basically added more detail if it's available. So I think that about does it for the changes that we've made. So unless there's any questions or anything, I can open it up for some discussion.
Yeah. No, I'm just with at least the green, let's call them the green pages.
Mhm.
I'd love to have hard copies of those next council meeting.
Okay.
And I guess lead by example for the, can we go to the sheet for F&A?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, my request is, can we start to schedule those into the F&A committee to have discussions of what's going on with each one of those that is under the purview of the F&A, so that we get a little deep, the next level deeper, and can have conversations of what we F&A need to do for you to make these things happen. So just as their, as their time comes and it's appropriate, let's schedule them in. If they're ready, start scheduling them in now and spread them out so we can start having those discussions for awareness and action on your behalf. And my put would be a council of, why I'm asking for hard copy is give each council member a hard copy of awareness, but also that those committees will start to do the same thing of having conversations around this and how do we, the council, help make these things go forward. Other than that, it's good stuff.
As far as next council meeting goes, is do you want to have any discussion there or just provide the document so that committees can talk about it?
Hand me the green sheets. I'd love a copy for each council member because something physical to take away. I would have, I'm not necessarily wanting asking for the discussion we just had, but more I want to have a discussion with the rest of the council that says we, the council, and through our committees ought to start going through this material for awareness, understanding, and also for action on our part in support of. What does that look like? What does that take? So we're really bought in and actually helping you guys versus, I don't want this to be just a pretty sheet of paper. I want us to be actually working it. You're like, what is he up to? But go ahead.
Why not? I am, I don't know, excited is too mild a word. I'm so excited by this. focusing the council on, so think about it. We've gone through a process here of coming up with those priorities. Okay, went through a whole process of coming up with them. Do I agree with every one of those priorities, or do I think one's more important than the other? Maybe I don't, maybe I do, but the point is that's what we said as a council.
Yep.
So now we've got the topics, so it's cross-referenced in, and so the idea is we ought to be disciplined. So one of the things I've always thought is, you know, I watch staff come to us on any given committee or council, and they bring a topic forward. They've known it's coming forward for a while, right? They've done a whole bunch of work. They try to do things like this in the relevant committee, and they hope that we're passing that on. But their thought, you can see it time after time after time. Their thought is this is ready. This is ready, you know. Is it soup yet? Remember that commercial? Right? It's soup. Let's go. Let's eat the soup. So, and then we come up with like deer in the headlights, like we're surprised, right? That's just time after time that happens. And so what ought to be happening is exactly what I heard you say, in my opinion, which is each committee we're talking about, okay, where are we out on these? When's the next one coming forward? And so that if we do this well, see, so slight side point, I ask every time I see the council agenda, my question is, why is any agenda bill not on consent? It's not on consent because we think it somehow is not, you know, that the council isn't expecting it ready to say yes. And I always think that's a failure, right? You know, why didn't everyone know that was coming? Any questions have been answered, we're ready to go. So I just think if we're hitting these timely, everyone knows what's coming. A chair can say, hey, you know, there's topic number 3, just so you all know, we expect it to come to council in 2 to 4 weeks. It'll be at committee, you know, we think, you know, next week. So tune in. So if we use this well, we at council should be, I think, a lot more in sync with staff, and things should just go through well. So I'm just very hopeful and excited that we'll do this. And then if we don't like some topics missing, or we don't like some topic, fine, talk about it way back weeks before, right? Not when it's actually, you know, soup and it's in front of us at an agenda bill ready for voting, right? So I'm really excited about this, and I hope we and I hope you encourage the rest of the council to really embrace this in that way, because just as you just said a few minutes ago, I think this could be a big positive step forward in how we kind of get things done.
That's why I asked for printouts.
Yeah.
I'll lose emails. I may not lose a printout in my backpack.
So, and for what it's worth, fantastic job on this.
Yeah. Good
Mr.
job.
Hornby. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good stuff. All right, let me ask, so we do have an agenda, maybe I took it sideways. We do have an agenda bill. Was the intent to actually take this agenda bill, or I kind of took it sideways to have a discussion at the council level, based upon the green sheets and everything else? Which way was administration looking at going with this?
I think this is an informational item. I don't think
Okay.
there's any action that we're looking for. We just generated a agenda bill out of habit so that it looked like a duck, walk like a duck, and quack like a duck.
Cool, okay. I just didn't want to sidestep the direction you guys want to go. Okay.
So just for informational purposes, then should we attach it to the next council agenda in addition to having the printouts?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You
Thank you.
just might mark it discussion versus action, so we know.
Or maybe the action is discussion.
All right, Meadowbrook Farm Operations and Maintenance Service Agreement, Agenda Bill 23079.
Good evening, council members. Emily Arteche, Community Development Director. I'm going to do the intro to these agenda bills, but I am not the end all say all about these agenda bills. There are 3 related bills to Meadowbrook. The first one is an agreement that would allow for the operation and maintenance with Skyview Parks and Parks District, Metropolitan Parks District. This one's a little bit complicated, just in the fact that you probably saw another attachment as a sub-attachment. I think we're calling it 2A. North Bend and Snoqualmie have two different versions, and we couldn't come together to reconcile the differences all at once. So we decided to show you in the first attachment the agenda bill and the agreement without any revisions to it. And then we included another one with some slight enhancements. So if you go to that 2A version, you will see that we've made some slight nuances. You don't see the strikeout and underline in this version, but it sounds like the mayor is walking over a copy of it to you. So that is the most helpful version to look at. But it really goes down to subsection 4.5 when we talk about net losses. And so we are trying to come to you with a more accurate picture of what we forecast a potential budget to be. And let's just be clear, this particular agenda bill, even though it has a section about budgetary impacts, we are not requesting at this time an appropriation of $80,000. We would be anticipating something closer to about $20,000 with the version that you're looking at now, going with the understanding that we will calculate a future budget based on net losses. So $20,000 it's kind of a best guess at this point that sometime in 2024, early 2024, the budget from Skyview will come forward to the governing body to look at. And at that point, you'd have the opportunity to see what we're actually anticipated, what the budgetary expense will be in 2024. Does that make sense? We got two different versions of the agreement. One calculates a budget forecast at net losses, which is kind of a truer picture of how to calculate those budgetary expenses. And that's the one that we're anticipating North Bend will go with. That's the one that we'd like for you to go with. And then sometime in the future, when Skyview gets their budget together, they'll come back and show you what it's going to cost to operate and maintain Meadowbrook Farms.
Go ahead, Jim.
So, see a few questions in mind, but let me share some assumptions I have, which could be false, so that you know why the heck is he asking that question. Two, I guess, beliefs or assumptions that I have is that historically, how do I want to say this? There's some people believe that Skyview operates this farm at a great profit to Skyview. And so that's troubling if that's true, certainly at least troubling to some, that, you know, because Meadowbrook operates at a loss, let me back up, operates at a loss. Because Meadowbrook is heavily subsidized by the city of Snoqualmie and the city of North Bend, therefore, if a service provider is making a profit off of them, they're actually making a profit off of our residents. And so what I'm curious about is how have we kind of, you know, viewed that, or are we concerned about that, or how have we addressed that? The cost or the amount that Skyview charges over the last few years has been significantly higher than what was previously being charged. Now, there's all kinds of issues, I know, with what was previously being charged. So, you know, it just seems kind of a little bit of a thing. And so that was number one. And then number two, just sort of closely related, is I want to make sure, or I'm curious to know, is the way this works mean that going into any given year or biennium, it's possible that we don't know what we're on the hook for. Because in the past, we've always said, here's an amount you get. And if you know, the rest is your problem. Is it possible here that we're on the hook for that? So just kind of curious how that all works.
Right, they have to provide their budget to us, as we are working on our biennium budget. And we haven't been paying them significant amount at all each year. I think our budget for this year is $10,000 for them, and then 10,000 next year. And they have been covering their costs, and this is actually through the association has been doing it. So what the Skyview Metro Parks District has been doing, they've actually been the ones that have been like renting out the facilities, maintain the facilities, and then also kind of mowing around that area. But then the association has been doing the rest of it. And so now they're actually going to be doing all of that. And I don't know, maybe Jana, do you have the information of how much we paid them last year? Do you know that? And in the past, I mean, there's an agreement with the association where a certain percentage of the fees actually goes back to the association. That's how the association was funded in order to do the maintenance that they were doing.
Yeah, well, we had a budget of $2,500 per quarter. So that's what we were paying them. And I think although we don't have the official 2024 budget, we do have kind of an estimate that's put in there. If you scroll down to that portion of the contract that actually shows what their expenses are. So we're anticipating that it'll be close to about $20,000 or less.
Okay, so it might go up to 20K as opposed to 10K, but that's where we expect it to be.
Yeah, and they're not expecting to come back to the city of Snoqualmie with any budgetary needs for this year. They're sufficient as is right now. And the money that was in the association has been transferred to Skyview. So they've got the money that the association was using to maintain. So we're at a point where, you know, a new budget similar to what you see on page 12 would be generated and considered for approval sometime in the near future.
Got it. And so if they go over budget or their revenues come in under budget, are we on the hook for making that up?
There's some details about that in the agreement about what happens if they try to bill us outside of what the budgetary, approval has been.
And what is that?
I have to look it up.
Okay. So maybe we could kind of look into that, because I just want to sort of make sure I understand what sort of how much we could, be on the hook for. And then when we approve the budget.
Let's back up a
Yeah.
sec. Hold on a second, because I'm sorry, but I'm confused now. Section 4.6 with the red line says any expenditure above revenue now comes back to North Bend and Snoqualmie for payment on a periodic basis. So is that above and beyond the amount, the $10,000 to $20,000 we annually allocate, or?
No. So 4.5 says invoicing frequently less than quarterly for net losses. Defined as expenses that exceed the revenue generated pursuant to 4.4, but that do not exceed the biannual budget for operations and maintenance established by the contracting agency. So it does not go over. So they're going to give us a budget, and we're not going to write a check for it. They will invoice us based on the net losses.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jenna, do you know? Sorry.
Oh.
Historically, we spent 20,000 in 2021, 10,500 in 2022, just for reference.
I thought I remembered 20. So okay, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, this is starting to make more sense to me. just curious, this budget. Who, how do I want to ask this? Who approves the budget for them, for their 4.5? Let's see,
So that's the next agreement.
Yep.
Which is the governing body. And the
Hmm.
governing body is made up of North Bend and Snoqualmie. And basically it's going to be the mayors of each of those. And so then, but that also folds into our, each city's biennial budget.
So
we
what,
approve it.
So
Yeah.
governance is the next agenda bill.
That's the next one.
right, so just, but just sort of follow through. So what happens if the two cities don't agree? So how does a budget, like, what happens? And all I really am after is, how do we figure out our part? Can we sort of, in essence, be arm twisted into amount that we don't agree with?
No, I think we need to work it out, right, between the both cities.
Right, but if not, if they're just at loggerheads, then sort of what happens?
I think there's wording in here.
Sorry.
We'll look at the governing ILA when we get there. right?
Okay, cool.
I'll wait on that. All right, so why don't, with that segue, why don't we go ahead and move to that, ILA, governance ILA, agenda bill 23-112.
So what do you want to do with this one?
Don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
Okay.
You're asking, ultimately, you're at the moving this forward and having council agree with the ILA.
Yes. So this was based on, so the previous ILA between both cities obviously expired after 25 years. And so this is kind of renewal of it. It's between North Bend and Snoqualmie. So we've already had a 25-year relationship and working through a lot of the budget issues together. And it establishes a governing body, and then also establishes a policy advisory board. And then you still have the association. The association is now going to be more over education, docent activities. And they can have a budget. They'll have to figure out what they, what their amount is based on their plans. And advisory board will be a group that, will actually look at updating the farm master plan. And they will recommend any necessary capital improvements in any budget. And then make any recommendations on policies or any issues. And all of this will roll up to the governing body. The governing body will then approve changes to the master plan. They will approve the biennial budget. And let's see what else. And then, obviously approve contracts for restoration, operation, and maintenance services. And that's a 10-year agreement instead of 25-year. So
10-year agreement, but automatically approved, renewed each year after there.
right. And if you look at section 12, which is your dispute resolution on how we will work through the issues together.
You want
And-
section 12, you want?
And actually, was it mediation?
All right, let's get section 12.
So it'd actually be mediation.
Mediation. Oh dear. Well,
Go ahead, Councilor Ray, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so section 12 talks about how to resolve a dispute on interpreting the agreement. I'm asking how a budget gets approved if the two cities don't agree.
It's interpretation or application.
So we're gonna have to go to mediation to get a budget done if the mayors disagree?
If it's at loggerheads, yes.
Yeah, this is
No.
not.
No.
This should work.
But these are not three-party equivalents in this agreement. The cities are superior to the farm. The cities will decide their budget, and
Right.
that's what the farm has to deal with. At no time is that in scope of remediation. Dispute resolution. It is what it is, so that it's got to be figured out in this. Go ahead.
So I'm just very focused on the question of budget. I'm not trying to
Oh.
be more broad than that. I'm just focused on budget. And so the thing that's going through my mind is historically, we said, here's how much money you can have, whether it was 10 or 20, whatever number it was. And we said, here's your number. And that's all we were on the hook for. And we chose. And in fact, it's been true in many years that there's been a sort of competition some years where North Bend would give more than the prior year, and that would sort of throw down the gauntlet to us. Are we going to match it? And so, and some years we didn't, and some years it went, we did. So long term, we always did. But anyway, that made for some sort of interesting kind of discussions. But the point was, Snoqualmie controlled how much Snoqualmie gave. And what I'm worried about is, let me say it differently. What I want to ensure is that that's still the case. That's what I'm looking for, is how are we clear that we only give what we choose to give and no one else has any say in that other than the city of Snoqualmie?
We still need to cover the costs, right? I mean, there's revenue and there's expenses, and we're asking, we have part ownership in this farm. And the agreement is we split the costs in half, actually the net losses in half. And so we're not going to choose what we give them. We have to cover, but it still needs to be within their, within the budget that we approve. So we can actually go back and negotiate with them and state, like, we don't want you to mow 10 times a year, we're going to mow 8 times a year, right? So there's different things that you could work on to cut out the costs. But we still need to be responsible for what we pay them.
But our responsibility to the citizens of Snoqualmie will take priority. And if by circumstance, that means you don't mow the farm, we have,
Right.
there's not a question there. There is a question. So again, our responsibility to citizens of Snoqualmie takes priority. From there, once we've satisfied that, what there is available for what I'll call discretionary expending, which will include the farm. Okay, and at a minimum, that's, don't mow, don't do anything. I don't think that's where we go. I think we have a discussion and an agreement of what are the expectations for operations and things to happen and everything else. Okay. And ideally, yes, we come to agreement upon what that is, but ultimately, the Meadowbrook Farm has no say on what the budget of Snoqualmie is.
So, section 6.1 identifies the governing body, and that identifies only the two mayors. They are the governing body that set the budget in section 6.3.1. So Skyview is not in that decision chain, so it's between the
Wasn't my
two.
worry.
What'd you say?
Wasn't my worry.
Okay,
In that decision chain is someone other than city of Snoqualmie. that's the concern. And yeah, that's the concern. And so this idea that we're responsible for half has actually not been the case anywhere in the past. We're responsible for the money we said we'd give. Now, ultimately, as owner, we have to deal with that. But the notion that our annual budget amount that we would give sort of varied, or we had, that's never been the case before. It's here's the amount, it's fixed, that's that. So this sounds like a change from that. And it sounds like someone other than City of Snoqualmie has at least a 50% say in determining that amount. And that concerns me. That doesn't seem like how that should work.
I'm not understanding then how should it work?
We should choose, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. We, City of Snoqualmie, should choose how much we're going to fund, and that's it. That's our number. So they need to then work within that number. So it's, if they run into problems and they have to cut back on the mowing, they need to do that because the amount they're getting from us is fixed. The amount we budgeted for them, that we appropriated for them.
Right, but it has to be based on something, right? So they're going to show us the budget and we're going to say, for a year, it would be about $23,000 is what Snoqualmie would pay them. If we say no, we want 15,000, then there's different ways you can look at and pull different things out. That is fine. So we still need to base it off of something. So they're providing their budget. And then if it goes over, we just say, no, we're not going to pay the additional over, right?
Yeah, as long as that's how this agreement works, that makes sense. But then I would just say that needs to be a decision that City of Snoqualmie makes, not subject to approval by anyone not City of Snoqualmie. But yeah, the method, how you get there, all of that.
Right.
That makes a ton of sense. It's just trying to put a bright line there on, we decide how much we spend, and that's the part I'm sort of focusing in on. The rest, fine.
Okay.
So, but also understand that I understand your point of that the governing body is made up of the mayor of City of Snoqualmie. However, when they are acting in that function, they are not acting as the mayor of the respective cities. They are acting as a governance body of the Meadowbrook Farm. I'll have you look at Pacifica about 10 years ago. The mayor, it can be at times, this is not just talking about us, this is talking about the future. There are circumstances in which mayor and council were at loggerheads. Okay, Pacifica being a case in which it got really weird. Okay, but we need to look future and anticipate that might happen and protect against it. Okay, so again, the mayor in acting as a governance body of the farm is a governor of the farm, put it that way. Okay, they may act contrary to the city. There is potential for that. Unlikely, but potential. Okay. The budget approval and authority comes out of the respective city councils. Okay, so they have to maintain that authority that they set the budgets and what dollar figures go where. You cannot, in this three-way agreement, violate that responsibility. Okay, so again, the cities will decide what, in consultation, the cities will decide what their budget is as far as money to the farm. But that is not a subject for remediation. It is subject for discussion, coordination up front. But once we decide, based on whatever circumstances we have, this is the budget we're going to do, that's the budget. I mean, yeah, we could have an earthquake, heaven forbid.
So
we could have a locust infestation. Let me just do the unlikely, and really need to focus the capabilities of the city on the city.
So I think we need to focus on the second sentence of 6.3.1, and that's the one that needs wordsmithing.
3.1. Go ahead.
Yes, I think that's
Okay.
it, because the concept that the notions behind this agreement, I certainly am not objecting to. I'm just that very specific, when we get to the end of it, okay, but then when it's actual money time, it looks like it's a little unclear to me that we have absolute control over the money we give, and that that's not subject to any outside party's approval. So I just want to make sure that part's clear. And then I think the rest, how we get there and all that, and how the cities work together and all that, I didn't see any concern about.
So we do kind
Yeah, perhaps the last part of that sentence where it really kind of hones in on half of the total annual, maybe if that was deleted.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll let you guys, I mean, I would not try to dictate the wording to you, let you think about the best way to say it, but it ought to say, I think, something like, is limited to the amount we budgeted, committed, whatever the right word is. Or, if you want to leave some out that you could come back and ask, that's fine too, but it should have a hard stop without some additional action by city of Snoqualmie. Which in budgetary action means probably some additional appropriation through council. I think the 20 or 23K that we're talking about sounds consistent to me. It sounds like we were a little bit lower recently, but sounds consistent to me with historical numbers. So my earlier question that I raised about Skyview's, costing seems, in my view, to be largely addressed by the fact that we're not talking about a lot more dollars. So therefore, my concern that somehow money's funneled off, well, we're talking about the same amount of money, so that just doesn't seem like a concern anymore. So
Right.
that's reassuring to me. Or let me put it differently, that addresses that concern that I introduced earlier. I feel that that's not a concern.
Okay. Is there any other concerns regarding this agreement? Yes.
One is just, let's say North Bend wanted the farm to do North Bend Founders Day, and we're willing to throw $5,000 to the farm to do that. This would say the Snoqualmie also sends $5,000 because you dictate half. Okay, so I would recommend that each mayor is responsible for getting their portion, whatever that might be for that year, committed into the budget for their city. We can't guarantee on infinitum that it was always half. Okay, so I'm just a little wordage there just so that you have leeway to do those other things. Along those lines, my second one, I'm a little uncomfortable with 10. Willing to go there, but I am really uncomfortable with an agreement that has no ending. If it auto renews every year after that on infinitum, this is an infinite agreement.
Right, but you can give a notice and get out of it.
I'd rather force the discussion at 10 years for review.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to bring that up. Well, I completely agree with that point of view. In fact, I've seen some other agreements come before the council that have these sort of forever renewals, and I think it's a bad policy. I think we should, if we want to have sort of a 10-year agreement and then it has an extension or two, but then I think you should have a hard stop at somewhere around. I mean, I don't have a fixed number, but if the past agreement was 25 years, that seemed like a good point for just a hard stop then and force a relook. I mean, look what happened here. It seems like this relook has been healthy. It's come up with kind of a new way of looking at it, and seems like that's about the right sort of timing. If it was sooner, if it was at 10, I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay at 10. I'm just on infinitum.
But
10 years ago, none of us knew how to spell COVID. Okay. God only knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years. That, just a lesson should have learned at this stage. So I have no I'll have no problem. I'm uncomfortable, but I have no problem with 10 years. I just, we need to force a relook at some time period, whether that's 10+1, 10+2. Think about it, but, forever contract, no. And I'm uncomfortable encumbering future councils in that manner.
Okay, so no auto renewal. And then final say on our total budget, or how do we resolve it? What was it? What was the third one?
Those
We're not gonna like,
Just two.
just two.
I think there's two.
Oh, the other one was, I'm sorry, there was three, was half, dictating half. It's each party's committed portion or something rather that we're supposed to go get. It probably is half most of the times, but there may be conditions under which, Founder's Day, whatever. You may want to do something what would be specifically for a city versus both cities, and the other city should not be encumbered because of it.
right, but isn't that part of the negotiation of what you're gonna take out of the budget? My concern is, here's two cities, now we're saying, no, we're uncomfortable about saying we're gonna pay half. So the Founder's Day thing is gonna be quite different. It's not the main maintenance and operations. That's what we're paying for. And maybe capital.
There a
which
separate
is-
budget for not maintenance and operations? Well, and I'm really saying it probably is half under most circumstances. I'm just saying, don't encumber yourself that way. If for some reason,
But that gets back to the
if
final
one of the
say,
cities,
right?
all of their sewer pipes broke. Okay. By mutual agreement, you could say, hey, I really need to focus in on the sewer pipes for the citizens of my city, and I'm going to be less than half for this year, and come to mutual agreement and understanding. Okay. By dictating half, you're not allowing yourself to have that conversation. Okay. And I don't know in the next 10 years, guys, I do not know. If I knew, I'd be laying my money down on some stocks and I'd be gone. Okay. I don't know. We don't know. Don't restrict yourself to things that may be inappropriate for the don't know situation. It probably is half under most circumstances, and maybe half all 10 years. I'm just saying that's an inappropriate constraint to black and white dictate it's a half at all times.
But we were also stated we're going to have final say as to what we're going to spend. So that kind of washes out the half. I feel uncomfortable removing the word half out of this agreement, but we would also negotiate things that we would remove and have and share.
Okay, go ahead.
May I understand your point? Perhaps just putting a modifier in with the half, because what I think that what you're saying is we should be expressing an intent to be at half.
Right.
And I don't think I don't
agree.
hear any disagreement with that.
Right.
But maybe we just put a modifier in that, we would intend to be half, or generally
Ideally.
will be half, or some modifier that allows, as you say, Mayor, at the end of the day, we're going to make our decision. So it becomes a guidance of what's expected, but it does allow that final decision to perhaps be different. I will say, for what it's worth, within the last 6 years, I guess maybe we should have staff just double check this, but I'm pretty sure there have been some years where it wasn't half, where the amount, or to put it differently, where the amount let me try that again. The amount that North Bend gave was in fact different than the amount Snoqualmie gave. Now, okay, I'm talking about $1,000 or $2,000 or something, but I believe that it has sometimes been a little different. So if that's true, which I believe it is, again, our intent is to be half, but then we retain that. I think maybe that solves.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah, I have no problem with the intent. I agree with the intent. Okay, I have disagreement with the constraint. And it needs to be worded as an intent versus a constraint.
Okay.
Boy, you thought you were gonna just have loads of fun with it.
Or
Huh?
We got one more.
Yeah, I got one more to go.
so we will make those changes and still take this forward on Monday because there's some minor changes.
Okay. Uh, we won't have chance to review them prior to council, so you may get additional feedback. Go ahead.
It was
Councilor.
like 3, yes.
Is there an urgency? Is there a reason we couldn't just slow down 2 weeks and just have a relook with you? Because I would really like for this committee to be full-throated support of these 3 agreements when they come forward, and without having seen that, you know, you'll get less than that, you know, and I would hate to see that. So if there's an urgency, then perhaps that's different. But if there's room for 2 weeks on this, maybe come back to us so we can totally get behind you on this.
I think that's fine.
Well-
There's like 3 minor changes we just talked about. Right.
But I'd hate to see, oh, wait, no, though, I don't like that word. Well, how about this? Like, you could just see that getting all.
Wait, let's back up though. With the modifications on ILA, you're holding on the operations and maintenance service agreement?
Why not
not-
just bring
why-
them all 3 together?
Why not let that go forward?
Well,
And more to the point, once we get into this farm prairie loop project, I'm not sure of logic of holding that up for the ILA.
yeah, well, we haven't talked about that one.
Yeah, I know, but just based on title.
But if you ask me to vote on 079 before I have 112, my vote is no. So I don't want to vote no. I want to know that it's solved and vote yes.
I think the maintenance agreement could be voted on. Let's see.
I'll be advocating for a no vote. Because without knowing the amount.
Not
that
necessarily
we're
no,
voting
but
for-
not yet.
Yeah.
You want
yeah.
the-
That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be a no. I want to be yes. So, but I'm unclear. I can't vote for something where I don't know that we've got a firm grip on how much we're on the hook for.
Okay.
And so without that, I would say we got to wait till that's solved. But so why create a bunch of noise around something that I think is going to be clean? Let's just get it clean and send it through.
So is there time urgency on these, or can we bring the ILA back in 2 weeks and get behind it and say yes?
Well, I think North Bend was approving theirs tonight at their council. And we've asked, you know, Siveview we have like a letter asking them to do the work. We want them to do the work because the association is no longer doing the work. So it'd be great to have a contract with them. And they have to take it forward to they've reviewed it, and then they want to take it back with the minor changes that we have. So better to have it sooner than later.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Now I'm really troubled. How on earth do these things come to us at the 11th hour? And it's urgent, we must approve it right now.
No,
or
no.
Like,
no,
how does
let's-
that
wait,
happen?
Let's hold on. I understand what the mayor's saying, but what North Bend Council may or may not do, may not drive me. Okay, so I don't view it as a 12th hour. That's a item of note, but it doesn't force me.
Yeah, no, I don't care what North Bend, I mean, I
Okay,
care what
so-
North Bend does, but that doesn't change what we do.
Right, so I didn't, other than it'd be nice to have Siveview under contract for the field maintenance. I don't see an urgency matter. But it leads me back to the original question of, can we move forward with the operation and service maintenance agreement, which I believe is the agreement with Siveview.
Right.
Move forward with that. It still has to comply with whatever we do with the ILA. And we bring the ILA back here in 2 weeks, and then the council following that. So can we separate those 2 items so that we at least have Siveview under contract?
Same answer I gave before, I'm a no vote.
Okay.
Which I don't want to be, because it seems like this thing's pretty close to where it needs to be.
So, all right, I'm amenable to bring the service agreement forward for discussion at council, and it will be a discussion. If administration so chooses. So do you guys want to push forward on that agreement? Or are you willing to hold off for 3 weeks to get the ILA nailed out of here in 2 weeks? What do you want to do?
We'll bring it forward in 3 weeks.
Okay, and the real thing for in 2 weeks is just wordage on the ILA.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, with that one,
And
well,
if you happen to get the wording, sorted out before the agenda packet, if an email came through saying, here's your revised wording, I would seek to respond as quickly as possible to you so that you knew if there was any further concern.
Sounds good.
okay, but that doesn't change course back here in 2 weeks.
Agree. I'm
Uh,
trying to help get it off their plate as quickly as possible.
Let's go to Meadowbrook Farm Prairie Loop Trail Project. What's this one?
All right, I'm attempting to bring that up. If my computer will work, I might just have to go off of, oh, here it is. Good. So some time ago, there was a lot of interest about improving trails in Meadowbrook Farm. And the city had set some money aside to assist in a joint effort with North Bend. At the same time, North Bend was very interested in getting grant money to make these trails go forward, so they're mostly improved trails. There's some extended new trails. And this is going back to the master plan for Meadowbrook Farm, which identified trails for public use and enjoyment. Just recently, the city of North Bend secured a contract with King County, $500,000 to assist in the design and construction of trails in Meadowbrook. Again, mostly improved trails, a few connecting trails from Centennial Park. All of the work that's being proposed is within the city of Snoqualmie city limits. The project at one point was much more expansive and involved trails through both cities, but the funding that was received wouldn't allow for all of that work to be done. So the city of Snoqualmie portion was designated as the first leg or first portion of the improvements to go forward. So this agenda bill that you see before you is basically a recognition of the grant that North Bend received for the work in the city of Snoqualmie. It also has a budgetary impact. In the CIP, this trails budget of $200,000 was allocated. We just never applied the money anywhere. So it's been carrying forward for a while. I don't know exactly how long. This particular agenda bill would allow for the budgetary expenditure to occur and acknowledges the city's support for trails in Meadowbrook. And there's an attached resolution that would be adopted.
Go ahead, Councilman.
All right, so few questions. Just in the way that you characterized it, not that I'm necessarily disagreeing with anything, but when we moved these funds all into 310, I think that historical designation was eliminated. That no longer is true. Everything was in the 310 in a pile. We don't, in fact, that was one of the things we were doing is we put all of that money into 310 and said, okay, this is our bucket. Now we go to the CIP and figure out how do we want to deploy that. So I don't agree with that characterization, but nonetheless, this would be 240,000 that what is that, like a match to the 500? Is that the concept there?
It would be 200. It's not a match, it's a contribution. North Bend is also coming up with their contribution, and Skyview is also coming up with their contribution in kind, commingled with the $500,000 from King County.
Got it. So the total project's a little under $1 million, or maybe around $1 million if you count the in-kind. Is that right?
5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 8, 900,000.
Oh, so North
North
Bend's
Bend is
portion is not the
contributing
same?
115,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
And Snoqualmie is contributing,
200,000.
where's the 240? I'm confused because the 240 is floating around here.
The 240 was in the CIP.
Okay,
so
thank
there's a
you.
CIP for this item for 240.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, so that makes sense. So then my little story about 310, blah, 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 the point is it is in the CIP.
Correct.
Got it. And it's in the CIP for 240.
Correct.
Got it.
So what, why is the split 115 to 200 between us and North Bend?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'd be happy to look into that. I picked this project up kind of at the tail end of it. So I was doing the best I could. These were the numbers that were provided when the budget was put together and presented to King County about who was going to pay for what and how it was going to be accomplished. So I imagine that we are paying a larger amount because we're the direct benefit from it. You know, these trails will link up to the middle school and to Centennial Park. And so there's opportunities for children at our schools to come in and learn and observe and you know, participate in ways that they've never done before. But I'd have to go back and double check why there was an imbalance.
I would bet it's a percentage on how much of the project is in which jurisdiction versus the other.
Nope, there you go.
That determines, that most of the project is in Snoqualmie,
All of the projects in Snoqualmie.
all the projects in Snoqualmie.
Yeah, so yeah.
Sounds like instead of going 50-50, because it was all in our city, they said, okay, let's go 2/3, 1/3. That's what sort of, I mean, that's what it sounds like.
I think they also went after the grant, and I think they've also done a lot of the work on this already.
Yeah, North Bend's
So if you
North
call it in
Bend's
kind,
been putting in a lot of money in kind that they haven't quantified that number. So Mike McCarty is the senior planner over there. It was him who went out and fought for this particular grant. He was excited that it was awarded to the city of North Bend, knowing that the work would be done inside the city of Snoqualmie limits.
Go ahead, Councilman Maria.
I think I'm there, but let me just ask, when we say it's in the CIP, is it in the 23-24 appropriation? Or is it farther out in the CIP?
I heard a yes.
it is,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm good.
Okay.
I think this is great.
So, but, I don't see logic holding this up for the prior two.
No,
discussions.
I don't either. Send this guy
This
through.
one should go through.
Yeah,
Okay,
Could this go on consent then? Or
well, that was my next question.
yeah. It's already in our CIP. So wouldn't we assume that council members are good with it? If they're not, they'll pull it, but I think it's consent.
I'll go with the consent, though. I want to hear the results of your research of why the split between, 115 versus 200 in city of Snoqualmie and North Bend.
Could
So,
could we put that in an email message out to the
that's fine.
council? Okay, yeah, I'll
Or- You could just. It's up to you, but you could just send it to chair here and
Okay.
then he'd be in a position. If the question came up, he'd be in a position to answer the
yeah, that's what
question.
you're saying.
I wouldn't necessarily go looking for the question, just be prepared for it. So just put chair in a position to answer.
So an email to the chair.
Just let me know why that split.
Will do on that. I
Okay.
appreciate the lift on this. I know it's been a long time in the making, and I think that there's a lot of public benefit having access to these trails and
This is great.
Yeah,
And we got someone else to do the legwork for us. What the heck?
yeah, we
Sure,
don't
that-
have any other legs to do the work here. So
Man,
go ahead.
this could be put off to another time, so I know we're getting late in the hour, but so maybe another time. I'm just curious about the thing I see, let me try that differently. The thing I hear talked about the most with regard to Meadowbrook, and that I see spoken about or addressed most often in social media is parking during the autumn, when the herd is out. And as we all know, a lot of cars go out to watch, and you know how that road is. So, they kind of jam up the roads, I think, and there's not a lot of space to pull off. Just curious if there's anything kicking around to try and address that. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. So if now's not the time to ask,
No,
that's fine.
Wait, yeah, not on the agenda, homework assignment, come back later. I don't wanna.
Yep, good.
It's already 7:15.
I know, just looking up there, 7:17. So
Okay,
be
so-
curious to hear.
It
some
might
in
be
the
already
future.
done. I'm not sure if you walked
Okay.
the area recently, but
Oh, I
in the,
haven't.
in the last 8 months,
Oh,
I'd say done.
thank you.
Done.
Okay, I'll go do that.
Okay. All right, with that, this agenda bill, we have ERP update. David.
So tonight's pretty much just an overview of where we're at. We're still doing some work on the back end with some other stuff, but wanted to let you kind of know where we're at with the current phases that we're working through. Share. So right now, really just milestones and timeline is what we're going to review this evening. So with the completion of last week, we have started utilizing the major modules in the finance section of Tyler Munis. So AR, AP, general ledger, budget, and cashiering are all up and running. We've started doing transactions this week. We actually cut our first check for payment through the new system. If you're back in the area, we have a small wall of wins we've started posting up as we've gone through that. So very exciting, working out, of course, some bugs. It hasn't been perfect, but we are very excited to have made that first stage. With payroll and HR. So right now we are paralleling or preparing for a full parallel of our payroll systems with modifications to a semi-weekly, which I don't think I changed. I did not change that on here. I will edit that. That's what I missed. I'm sorry. It'll be a semi-monthly pay schedule. And we'll parallel it both in Springbrook and in Munis in our test environments in both to see that, make sure that the numbers come out correctly. We have all the data. We're updating data monthly. We've imported it all. So at this point, we're making sure it all works. We've had some challenges. Originally, we were going to start going live at the beginning of August with the finance modules. We had some issues with how the information was presented, getting answers back from our consultants, individuals being able to follow up and get the information clarity and sharing that with the overall group when it was needed. We worked through that in the month of August and were able to then make that transition in September. Some of the things we're doing moving forward to prevent that is we now have even more frequent check-ins and progresses than we did previously. We have developed a more thorough task list of items. We've brought on a temporary support in this role over the last couple of months who's been significantly impactful in moving us forward. With their experience, has been really able to break things down even deeper than the basic task lists provided by Munis and our ICs. We were able to get some additional IC support that was actually much better than we'd had previously. And there are additional counselor support. Questions so far?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Just
Yeah.
in these implementations, generally, when you switch over AR and AP, there's some what do we want to call it? Discrepancy, some amount, out of balance amount that takes some time to sort of dig down or dig into and solve. So assuming that we have something like that, is that in size? I'm not asking you to tell me the dollar amount. I'm just asking in size, is that something that based on either the team's point of view or experience, is this sort of, sort of small, medium, or large in size?
So I would say it's been small because we have actually been reconciling the last 2 months in both accounting systems to reduce the fact that we would have any large discrepancies anywhere. So our team is actually paralleling still, at least through the end of this month, to make sure that those are finalized out, and have started doing minor closes throughout the year. So we can go back and identify specifically what hasn't been posted where.
That's great news. Congratulations.
And I have to give credit where credit's due. Again, bringing in this additional support was immensely helpful.
So, When do we know we were gonna be a month late?
We knew we were going to be a month late at the end of August. So we were not fully able to reconcile out and get the
We'll
system.
back up. Your implementation was August 1,
Yes,
and you knew you were gonna be a month late at the end of August?
so I should clarify some things. So we were ready to go. So we took a week off from doing anything in either system at the beginning of August, reconciled everything out, had everything ready to go. We then ran into some issues that we discovered in the existing system. With the support of our ICs and things like that, we thought we would be up and running by the middle of the month. Those were not fixed fast enough based on the issues both with our credit card payment system and some of our charge codes, because accounting felt it was easier at that point to hold off to the beginning of September to do that, because it would be easier than to reconcile. So we made that decision not to use both systems, probably the third week of August. Because we were actually working in both systems at that time, but Munis was not running properly. And we were concerned about discrepancies in the information being provided. So we made the decision to use Springbrook for the month of August.
Okay, does the project have a running issues log?
Yes,
And what format is that in?
it's in, well, it's out in Smartsheets, it's on Excel. I can get you an Excel.
Please get me a copy of that. I'm really concerned that there wasn't more visibility or acknowledgement of an issue until after the fact. And to tell you the truth, the mitigation steps I see are more anecdotal than substantive. I don't know what, I understand more thorough tests. That's more elaboration on the task and responsibilities to go for. I don't know what regular check means. Were you checking every week and now you're checking every day? And I'm really concerned, guys. ERP projects, their normal status is fail. Almost all of them go to, I didn't make it. Okay, this is a monster to do.
Yep.
Okay. I view this as a surprise now. Okay, and we ought to take steps that it's not surprise. And it may not have been a surprise to you guys, but it is to committee and council. So there may be more visibility. I'm asking more visibility that no surprises. We're here to help, and how can we help if we don't know what's going on? Okay, so I would really like that deeper look and for you guys to come back, because I don't take this. There's not enough meat here for me to understand how this snuck up on us and what we're truly doing in reaction, and how is what we're doing in the future changing? Has our schedule overall for the ERP project changed now?
No.
Okay, that is invalid. Okay, you're a month behind. Something ought to have changed in the project schedule to follow.
Okay, again, I should clarify. So yes, in the sense that we have phased out different pieces and we've broken down into smaller modules. So the primary pieces that we have today existing have stayed on the same timeline, and then the secondary modules moved out to the end of the year, which was not originally part of it. August should have been everything, which is something we brought a few months ago in one of our updates.
I had to be obnoxious to get that.
No, I realized
Okay,
that was,
so
no,
I
that's
don't
fair.
want to be obnoxious. I want to know what's going on.
No, that's
So
fair.
take this back, come back, tell us what's going on. I'm looking for a little more meat than what we're getting, okay?
Yeah, I can do that. That's
All
fine.
right.
All right.
And I have suffered through ERP projects.
No,
As a PM, I have my symptoms. They are painful, okay?
Yep.
But let's share the,
no,
that's
sounds
the way we'll be successful here. Okay.
The last piece is just a high level of where everything is, where we're at. Again, the first major core phases, human resources and payroll are working through, and then utility billing has started and asset management will start later this year.
Councilor Mayhew?
So as we look at that, where are the things that we ended up pushing out a bit?
So where you see PO, PNG, and SAM, that stands for purchase orders. In the first row up there, you see the
Yes.
large green box and the small one.
Hmm.
Yes, so those are purchase orders, project and grant accounting, and contract management.
So those originally, if I understood you a moment ago, were targeted by the end of August. Now the fact that we have that second block, that's the push out.
Yes.
And what about, well, two thoughts. I'll let you answer them both at the same time. One is, does that not impact any of the other systems? And then secondly, what kind of cost implication is there?
So it does not impact the systems, that everything that was necessary for this other systems to work was done in this first implementation. So these are really just additional features that this new system gives us that we didn't have before. So it shouldn't impact payroll. We've built those charge codes and everything out for that. That would be really probably the big hindering thing. There's rates and cashiering for utility billing already set up, which would have needed to be going into that. So that all is there. So far, the cost has changed. Obviously, we've had additional sessions with external concerns with Tyler. We have offset that with so we had purchased data migration services through Tyler for items that we did not actually have historical data we'd be bringing over. So within the contract, we switched out that cost and expense for the covering of these new roles. So it was a zero essentially. We put a change order in with Tyler to change that $0 to $0 change.
So let me make sure I understand what you just said. If we go to the original contract, this is me trying to repeat what you
No,
said.
go for it.
Maybe goofing it up. Okay. We go to the original contract, we had some tasks in there, which therefore had some costs associated with them that,
Yes,
as it turns out, we don't need.
exactly.
So we've now taken those tasks out and redeployed that money against these additional costs. And in fact, there was enough there to cover it.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
of course. Anything else?
Is there another slide?
Nope, this is it.
Is it?
This is it. This is what you get today. Sorry, but I will break some stuff down and I'll come back to you guys with the other information.
Cool. Thank
Of
you.
course. No, of course.
All right,
Rest is upcoming. First need the agenda.
upcoming agenda information only, so let's go. Yeah, let's go review draft city agenda. All right, let's go to draft city agenda. Proposal at this stage is we start at 6 o'clock. Table agenda at 6 o'clock on 2024 legislative priorities.
So can I add to that?
Now be the time.
Yeah. So even though it shows it starts at 6, so we have the ribbon cutting near the old Starbucks, near the library at 4:30, the legislatures. And then we're gonna walk over to the community center and tour that. And so all that'll be done by 5:30. So we'll be back here. We'll leave down there at 5:30. So between 5:30 and 6, I think we have like a, beverages and cookies, whatever. And then starting at 6, we'll talk about legislative priorities.
It's awful tight. You want to start at 6:15? That's really. No, if you think we do, all right. Councilman, you have.
Yes, well, I was just curious, Mayor Pro Tem, have you heard back from council members on legislative priorities? And if the answer is either no or lukewarm, I really think, Mayor Pro Tem, I think it's you really should put out a request saying, please, council members, you've got to give us some input here.
My answer is I don't know. I'm blade on email. I've been out. I'll go through and look. If nothing else, I will also prompt.
I mean, the mayor's asked and asked. I think it's on us to deliver.
Right. So we have the previous ones from last year. And then I did ask our interim chief Lynch to attend in case there's any concerns from public safety, as well as our interim fire chief. Not here, but Monday.
Monday.
Right. And they should have some ideas even before then, what are the hot topics right now? regarding public safety. So they'll have that, but I thought we can also ask legislatures, what are some of their priorities? What are they hearing from other communities as well? But it's only 55 minutes, so it'll be short.
So, legislators can talk. 55 minutes, anyway.
Right.
You might want to give them time limits.
Sounds good.
Good luck on that. But anyway.
5 will get you 15. 10
Yeah.
will get you 30.
Just judging from my counsel. But anyway, yeah. Okay, let me get back to. Okay, so legislative priority, 7 o'clock, we'll start with regular agenda. Called order, pledge allegiance, agenda approval, public hearings. We have a public hearing, adoption of resolution designating residential target area for multifamily housing property tax exemption program. Okay,
The public hearing.
is that coming out of community development?
It is. I did just learn that agenda bill numbers gotten changed from 107 to 119, and that the resolution is, instead of designate, it's to intend to designate. So
Go ahead and Councilman.
Emily, there's Emily, so she might be able to provide some information.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I
Councilman.
might be able to just help clear that up. So the sequence is we pass and did already pass at the last council meeting an agenda bill that said we intend to do this. Now we're coming and we're having a public hearing on doing that. That would then be followed by us doing it. So the only real difference is the first one said, hey, we intend to do this thing. Now we're having a hearing and an agenda bill to do it. So it's a very minor difference in a way, but of course, obviously it's significant because it's just notifying people. So now they can turn up and tell us their thoughts.
Precisely.
So the agenda bill 119 says announcing the city's intention to designate.
I think you might want to have a relook at that because I think the one that we're now working on should say that we're doing it.
It should say that. So admittedly, it's still going through the review process and it's sitting in the folder to be put together in packet material, but it will say that.
So Chair, that was the intention from committee. So if it doesn't say that yet, that the committee CDC intended that what would come forward would be exactly what the director just said. So that's consistent with committee's expectation. It's not a change from what committee approved.
I heard different words, guys. You need to help me out because she said it's in the folder for review, i.e. change. You said, no, the committee intended it to go forward.
Sorry, the committee intended her to make that change.
Yeah, the agenda bill 107 outlined the process for a resolution indicating the intention to designate. It also said that we would have a public hearing. And then it said subsequently after that, we would adopt a resolution designating it as a residential targeted area. So we're caught at the very last part of it where we'll have the public hearing on Monday. And then it's council's choice to actually designate by resolution the mill site as a residential targeted area.
And that would be agenda bill 119.
Correct. We've already passed through 107 because it had its own resolution.
So right now, 107 is on here for community development.
Right, and that's what she's telling us that should have been referencing 119. So she'll fix that.
And it was I'm just trying to catch up with.
Yeah.
I've been on a plane, okay? So the intention is that 119 will be on the agenda under community development.
Mhm.
And that is not the intent. That is designating let me get the words right, a residential target area for multifamily.
Correct, yeah. I think we were just carrying over the 107 because there were so many iterations of, multifamily tax exemption. But since the council already adopted a resolution saying they intended to designate, it made more sense to come up with a new agenda bill saying that you are going to designate.
Okay, so you'll
Yeah.
put in 119. Okay. Put in 119. First, we'll list it twice. The first time is a public hearing in regards to,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one down lower in the committee report will be actually action to adopt. Okay. I'm following. Thank you. So Dean, if you'll catch that, and then we will move into appointments. We'll have swearing in ceremony of police officer and appointment of civil service commission and presentation of Sound City Association regional involvement.
We're actually gonna continue that till early next year.
Okay, so that one comes off.
Yes.
All right. I'll refrain from questions. Then we'll go to consent agenda, which will be approved city council meeting minutes, approved claims reports for September 11. Wait a minute,
Whoops, we didn't meet on 11.
we,
Pardon?
I don't think we met on 11, did we?
Well, no, but that claims approval report's still out there, hasn't been.
oh, okay,
Oh, that's the claims. Sorry, yeah.
but we also ought to have
Well, this
September
was minutes.
25 in there too.
Right. For
Okay.
claims approval, right.
Can you point anything you read?
Well, what we approved tonight was claims report
Oh,
dated September
Yeah,
25,
so we'll need 11 and 20,
11 and 25.
but go to the minutes.
Minutes are from August.
City councilman is August 28th.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you'll include the 25th in there, we'll grab all those in the consent agenda. Also had Parks and Public Works, resolution,
Hold on, your
Okay.
consent should have included the Meadowbrook item, the trails. Right? Didn't we put that on consent?
Yes. And the two Parks and Public Works items.
Right.
right, so, well, wait, let's, hang on, let's get there. So there's other items that will come up in the consent. All right, we have ordinance, multifamily property tax exemption ordinance. And updated accessory dwelling unit regulations, first reading. Okay. Are those also coming out of community development?
They must be, yeah.
Okay, so Chair will do that, and we'll go to public safety information only, fire department, fire strategic plan discussion. So we'll have two discussions there. Community development will be 119, adoption of our designation of residential area for multifamily housing. And then the two items for public works, resolution selection of RRJ Company LLC for sidewalk contract goes up consent. As well as agenda bill 23-116 resolution resolution declaring surplus property can also go with consent. I think we took the Meadowbrook Farm maintenance service agreement off, as well as the ILA.
Yep.
But the Meadowbrook Farm Prairie Loop Trail can go on to consent, so 113 moves up to consent.
Yep.
We'll have a discussion of city council priority tracker.
Yep.
Information only 2023 Q2 financial report.
Remember, we put off the presentation there.
Agreed. All right, and then we'll get committee reports, mayor's report, commission committee liaison, original reports, department reports for August. And do we have a subject or we just have a placeholder for closed executive session?
No, we need to have closed session.
Okay. Oh, okay, thank you. All right, any other adjustment, changes, additions to the council agenda?
Isn't that enough?
We did. Yeah.
It's a busy calendar.
All right, Dean, if you have all that, we'll move to, unless there are objections, we'll have the council agenda as discussed approved.
No objection.
No objections, so we'll move forward. Okay. Any other questions or comments for committee tonight?
Well, we do have an executive session, right?
Committee executive session or council executive session?
Committee
Committee executive session,
and council, but committee right now.
committee right now, okay. Was it intent for action following?
No.
All right, so we can let everybody go, and once we come out of executive session, we will note time, and council, you can go home. And everybody else too, okay? So we will adjourn to executive session with no action following, and we will note adjournment time for the committee post executive session.
I think we should.
And I believe we'll inform Dina of that. Other than that, the overall committee is adjourned and can go home.
Just grab some water.
Okay.